Good evening, folks. It's Ashley and Gary for Expeditions for Answers. Um, I'm excited about tonight, and Mr. Gary actually made me a little gift. I feel special. This is an intro we're going to start using. I'll
Oh,
let
you're
him
gonna
play
make,
a preview. Yeah, I'm
you're
gonna
gonna
let
make
you
me
play a
do it.
preview. It
Now I
won't
gotta
let you
find
do
it
it.
again. I done got rid of it. You gotta make me find it again.
Oh, well, you could do it.
I don't
But
know.
shortly here, I'm flipping the script on Gary. He's actually gonna not be my go host, my co-host tonight. He's gonna be my guest along with Pat Turner, who should be joining us shortly.
And maybe another
Um,
special guest also.
and yeah, Gary's full of surprises tonight, so it should be a really good show. It's gonna hit on some good subjects that have been spoken about over the last couple weeks, and Gary and Pat have a project coming up that I'm excited about. Gary has been teasing me endlessly with this thing, and I'm chomping at the bit to get a part of it, and I cannot wait to see it. It's going to air 31st of January, right?
Yes, next
Yes,
Sunday.
next Sunday.
This coming Sunday, excuse me. My scheduling has been crazy the last 3 days because I'm working full time plus doing the production company full time. So it's like 12 to 20 hours a day. Miss Ashley has been gracious enough to contract out a new intro from P3 Productions, and I have the great honor of presenting her with her intro song, and we will be putting it in video format, but she wants to put it out there, so here it is.
I love it. I love my baby Ayasha howling at the beginning.
Okay, look, I just got a message from Mr. Pat Turner. He said he'll be just a minute and see if I can get our other special guest.
Y'all forgive us for not diving into the show.
Yeah, this was like one of the most unprepared shows. I've literally been tearing systems apart, putting new equipment in, tearing it out, and I didn't know we was
There's Daniela.
Hello.
Hello,
There she
lady.
is.
Wow, who's that?
I am
Sexy
Ashley.
voice there in the background.
Oh, I thought you were talking about mine.
Of course, you. He's just telling me about his mic, how sexy he sounds on his mic. And I
Oh,
thought,
he's been going crazy with that
Oh,
thing all
man.
day.
You would not believe the difference what I get. Of course, you know, you made me jealous with your Rode mic, and I had to go something a little more vintage, a little bit more
yeah, see
my
it there.
style. And let's just say that the microphone does the voice justice. My wife came in here and heard it, and she was like, "Oh my God!"
So good out there when you get one, when you get a really nice one.
A little bit of rekindling.
So, Miss Daniela, you get to join us. This is actually kind of fun. I got to tell folks a funny story about this interesting young lady. I was a guest on her show like 2 weeks ago, and we have literally talked like every day. It's been such a wonderful experience. She has introduced all of us. You know, it's been like a network. She's introduced me to so many close friends I've made over the past few weeks, and it's been a wonderful experience. But she's graciously decided to join us tonight, which is a very special thing for us down here in the South.
I appreciate that. I really do. Thank you for coming on.
Well, I was still up. It is 2:15 in the morning. So, I'm not sure how long I'm going to last because I've just done a researcher's report on Bigfoot Odyssey. And I've got a show tomorrow night, late one as well, on Hidden Existence. So I know Pat's going to be here soon. So I'll see how long I can last before I have to go. And
are you doing the late hour report tomorrow night?
I'm doing a show with Larry Batson, actually.
Oh yeah. I seen that. Sorry about that.
Uh,
Yeah, I don't know why I was
started-
associating that with yeah.
He started this. He does live shows pretty much every night on his Facebook, and he's a great artist as well. And he's just started interviewing people and drawing the Sasquatch for them as they're telling their encounter. And his pictures are amazing. So I'm going to have him on and talk about that.
Yeah, I've seen some of his shows, and I mean, he really is. He's talented, very good.
Yeah, and he's been around for a while. He knows all the old school guys. He was into Bigfoot before the internet, before I was even, well, I was born then.
Well, hey Pat, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, what's up? I was just hanging out with this person over here.
Yeah, and I thought I recognised you.
Yes,
You're following me. You're stalking me.
I'm following you around the internet.
Wow.
Keeping her awake. It's your fault, Pat.
Yeah, it's 9:18. I don't know. I mean,
It's too
I wonder. I've seen. I watch your shows, Daniela, and I've wondered how you do it. Being across the pond and all, and because I know you. The time difference is crazy. So
I'm
yeah,
a bit of a night owl anyway, and somehow for the last few years I've never had a job where I had to be up early in the morning to get to it. Kind of like work in the afternoons or late evenings. But I'm used to being up late, but I didn't realise actually when I started my channel, most of the people subbing to me were coming from Bigfoot Odyssey, and I had to kind of keep up to be up with them.
right. Yeah.
Because otherwise I would have nobody watching me or coming into the live. And obviously it's important to me to have the people come in the live. They make part of the show, them being there with their questions and input. So I was kind of like forced into, but I've kind of brought it down a bit early. I start at midnight when I'm doing my shows. I still do start at 1 o'clock for Bigfoot Odyssey, but I'm just used to that.
Wow.
Just admit it, Daniela, you are a vampire.
There is that as well. I didn't really want to talk about that, but
that's her hidden existence, dude.
I didn't say that. Hey, we are on a cryptid show though, so that, folks, I have found it. Oh,
And we have Frozen down here below me.
Wow.
yeah, it's gone. His battery, maybe.
yeah, because y'all just got off of an hour-long show.
Yeah, with Daniel. It's a good show.
He's a interesting character. I like Daniel. He's
He's full of personality, that's for sure.
Well, that's good, isn't it? Because sometimes you can get guests on that have said everything within the first 3.5 minutes, and you think, oh, how are we going to get through this? Some people are not used to talking, are they? Are not used to kind of going into detail. It's hard for people to come on. It's hard if you're not a natural talker.
absolutely.
It's not only does he have that personality, but he's also got that critical thinking where he can take you along those guidelines and really explain it to you in detail and get you to understand it. And granted, there are those hard heads out there that won't grab on that you kind of want to just listen to them.
Well, they're the ones that don't have any substance to what they're saying. The ones that they just want to stick to what they want to believe in, and that's it. And there's no movement. And we have to have movement in this subject because nothing is definite. Nothing is set in stone. There's very little, actually.
Yeah, I mean, that's one. I don't know if you caught his super panel. Yeah, I don't know if you caught the super panel show, but one thing that I totally agree on is there is no knowing in this world. Nobody can say that we know something about Bigfoot because we haven't gotten our hands on one to study one. Nobody's actually sat in the field and observed them from a distance. And it's like, you see them, they're gone. If you're lucky enough to do that. And half the people that have been in this business for 20 plus years still haven't had a Class A sighting.
Mm.
So none of us know anything, and
No.
none of us are experts, like they were saying. So it's
This is why I find, it's weird how much people put into the study of the structures and everything. And I think we don't even know what's making them. We don't even know the thing that, if they're making them, we know nothing about that creature. So I don't know.
We're not even for sure if
Yeah.
it's, we have our presumptions, but we're not even for sure if it's Sasquatch making the structures. It could be something totally different, until we actually see them doing it. Now, I can say that there has been a lot of reports and we have seen Sasquatch in the exact same area that we found tracks. So that would be one thing that we could say, maybe we do know a little bit because we've seen them, leaving tracks, but there he is.
it's assumed behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of it is, isn't it? And it's quite scary, really, when you strip it all away, and you think there's so much out there, so much content out there, based on so little.
Yeah, and I mean, I went out yesterday because we had a bad storm the night before, and I figured if I was going to catch any tracks, it'd be a perfect time. And I've been out there 3 weeks ago, and there was a lot of down trees and branches, and they were hanging midair, that weren't there a couple weeks ago. And I'm not going to just automatically say, "Ooh, Sasquatch has been here." No, we just had a big storm. You got to use the common sense aspect of everything.
Definitely.
Well, I've got interesting news, Miss Ashley. I have literally, since the show started, admitted 15 people into the Facebook group.
Awesome. I love bringing new people in. I mean, I was excited when we hit 300. I just, I like it growing because I like the interaction, and I like it to be a learning stage. But at the same time, I want people to be able to share things in that critical way. Like, I can't remember if it was on the super panel or what, but I made the comment that I don't share my stuff because I'm not 100% sure that's what it is. There's no way of proving until I get a good cast or something. But, I mean, I got cussed out in a group because I had a hard time believing in this government official that killed an 18-foot Bigfoot.
18 foot.
Yeah. And he's going around he's supposed to be a government official. This was part of a government thing. I refuse to watch the interview. That's just how.
You don't have to send me that link. I'm curious.
But he goes by the name Victor. And supposedly,
never mind. I know.
Then you know what you know what I'm talking about.
It's just BS. Like, don't you?
Yeah, well, like you were telling me, that show that I've been kind of checking out was a waste of my time, and it is. I mean, it's like a sitcom. It cracks me up that there's deer in this area. There must be Bigfoot because that is their food. I'm sure that they eat more than deer, just like we eat more than steak or salad or.
Well, I can pretty much guarantee, according to genetics and biomechanical structure, that these things do eat. They're an omnivore. They eat anything that we would in the survival situation.
They have to be omnivores.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Barry Preston Robinson had an interesting question. Said, would you all consider the vocals as expected Sasquatch behavior or activity? I've got to say this again. I'm a big player when it comes to vocals because I hear them a lot here in Oklahoma, and I presume that they're coming from a Sasquatch. But I've only heard of 2 reports and took 2 reports myself to where they actually seen the Sasquatch making the vocals.
Yeah. I mean, that's a tough one, but it's not, if that makes any sense. Because if you can rule out your local wildlife,
yes,
and it's not hard to even Google search audio from any known animal, and even when they're dying, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
So you can kind of rule stuff out, and then I'd say at least if you rule it out, you can maybe project it on the Sasquatch. Because other people have said that's what they sound like or scream in that way, and And I mean that I think that's reasonable to some degree.
But
There's
don't
there-
most animals have vocals, don't they? Or
Mhm.
Yes.
call signs, or that's what I think about this. When people say, that Sasquatch is scary or frightening or aggressive, any animal will be in a situation if it's got young with it or it's got food, maybe. Or I think all the signs that they display are typical of pretty much any animal.
Absolutely.
They have to communicate somehow.
Yeah, it doesn't make them any more scary than a bear or a cougar, a mountain lion. But we
I've gotta
put this
agree to
conception
disagree.
of it as being this scary thing. Most
Right.
animals are scary.
Daniela, I got to agree to disagree there.
Oh, okay.
When you've had a face up close as much as I have, I've faced bears down hunting them. These things to me are a lot scarier than.
I get that. I get that. Yeah, but yeah.
I'm just being ornery.
I know we all have different reactions, especially, those of us that have had the Class A. Nobody can really predict how you're going to react. A lot of people talk about being scared. A lot of people talk about feeling calm or whatever. Gary, of course, I don't know. Mine was at 50 yards.
That's what I
If mine was face to face like that, I don't know. I probably would have needed a change of shorts too.
Well,
So
it might have been different if I seen him coming in or something, just to wake up and see him, was the initial shock, I haven't had a verifiable Class A since then, but I've seen motion and I've seen shadows and stuff like that.
yeah, I've had that one and only.
Yeah.
And other than that, it's been the eye shine. It's been the shadows, movement. I did have that bluff charge. Didn't really see it, but knew it was there because, it was, it ran right up on us. And then the roll call where we actually got answered from like 20 feet away, but never saw it and never smelled it either. So
I don't know if you've heard, they've got some audio and we're trying to get it released to where you can play it. You literally had an audio recorder and you hear one running up to the porch because their dog was outside and you hear it goes, a dog, a dog, a dog, a dog, and then turns around and runs away.
That was on my friend's property. I got to talk to her. She's supposed to send me actually a lot of vocals that we've gotten from investigations. I call her property in her area Squatch World. No, we don't get activity every time we go out because I don't care how good you are. I don't believe that's going to happen. But we do get a lot of activity. And when she sent me that recording, I didn't happen to be there that night, but she sent me that. And it was just crazy because it sounded like a Clydesdale. You could tell it was running on all fours and it's galloping and it sounds like this huge animal, like I said, a Clydesdale at least. And then it just stops at the porch while, her dog was barking and it literally a dog, a dog, a dog. And, you're sitting there going, wow. And you could tell that was not a human sitting there just in a gravelly voice. This was a very rugged, I don't want to say untrained, but just, not natural to a human pattern of speech. So when I heard that, it blew my mind away. It was just like, wow, y'all, that was awesome. But I know Pat, I know you have a different kind of aspect of what you think about sharing vocals. So go ahead and you have your turn on vocals.
Well, at the end of the day, no matter what, I'll even say the Sierra sounds, as compelling as they are to me, and knowing that they can be proven to have been recorded in the 70s. So, that's like the gold standard for audio.
Absolutely.
And especially since we can actually prove that they were actually recorded in the 70s, so we don't have this manipulation of modern day technology and all that. It's still not good enough. It's not conclusive. Audio will never be conclusive. When you get something on audio, all you're doing is going, well, this is what I'm hearing. I don't know what it is. There's nothing to match up to it. So, man, I don't doubt for a minute that Ron Moorhead went out into the remote Sierras and probably encountered these things out there. I don't doubt that for a minute. Probably did. They probably recorded them. But is that proof of anything? No. Why? Because the media is not like all of a sudden discovering Ron Moorhead's audio and going, hey, there's a Bigfoot out there. The scientific world isn't like going, oh my God, there's something happening here all of a sudden. It's not conclusive enough. The PG film was not conclusive enough
Nope.
for the scientific world. As much as I think it's conclusive,
Well,
it wasn't. It's not for them.
Yeah, you dropped that clip this afternoon? The one that was with Jeremiah, Dr. Jeremiah Fountain, or not Jeremiah, excuse me, Jeffrey Meldrum.
Yeah,
I saw Jeremiah's comment in the thing, so I said that with Jeff Meldrum. I was talking about, there was a documentary on Prime that's called The Unwanted, not Unwanted, Unwanted
with
Sasquatch.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's actually one of the better documentaries that's more, I guess you could say it's balanced. It's very balanced. It's not just, no, there's not, or yes, there is.
I love
but
it. Yeah.
even with him not being a believer, the way he breaks down the whole mechanics of the way Patty walks through that film and everything is just, and then for him to be on the cusp of believing, for as good as he is, it's got you like, no problem, Jeremiah. I was giving you a shout out anyway, but
audio is only audio. That's all it is. And I'll tell you guys this right now. I could take a Bluetooth speaker out in the woods that doesn't require a power cord. It's internal batteries, and I can make whatever sound I want from it. And I can film myself walking through the woods with that Bluetooth speaker 20 yards away and go, oh, what was that? Yeah. Or, oh my God, I'm so scared because it's screaming at me. So in the modern world, 100% audio is not good enough. Now, Gary sends me audio. He goes, hey, check out what I found up, recorded on my farm last night. And I'm going, dude, that's crazy. And man, that sounds kind of squatchy.
But we don't know.
I can't go to every person in the Bigfoot world and say, this is definitely a Bigfoot. I can't do that on your behalf. Good luck. I mean, you just don't know.
So
even with your own personal experience of hearing one that you've talked about, Pat.
I got screamed at and wood knocked. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, you talk about how that scream made you feel.
It did.
That's one thing that makes me look at this circle that, Gary mentioned earlier, is that we don't sit there and just automatically throw it on the internet and say, hey, everybody listen to this. We share it amongst each other. And we're like, what do you think? And I mean, I've even sent pictures to Gary and been like, I'm not sure. What do you think about this? And then he's got the big screens, that's why I call him my production guru. And he can look at it and then he'll say, no, look at this, look at that. And I'm like, you're totally right. That's absolutely nothing. It's brush, and when it comes to the audios, I mean, I've been an avid hunter. I know my animal sounds, and I know for me, what I'm hearing is not of a known animal species, but I'm not going to sit there and, get in somebody's face and say that was a Bigfoot.
Well,
because I can't prove it to them.
A great example of that, what you're talking about is, I mean, my buddy Ernie was there with me, and we even addressed this on the Super Panel show. Like, I went out of my way to go, hey, guys, listen to his story, listen to my story, and how different they were. Because Ernie was like, I don't know. I think it was maybe a fox or something. And I'm like, I said it was a banshee.
And y'all were, what, 5 feet from each other?
Oh, yeah. We were sitting around the campfire together, bro. Yeah, and we both went, we both perked our heads up and went, listen.
Prime example of audio is not going to be conclusive.
and heard the same. We both heard the same sound, and Ernie to this day, will not say, "I think it was a Sasquatch," whereas I'm going, "I think it was. I don't know, but I'm leaning in that direction because." I can't match it to any known animal in my area, and Ernie thinks he can. So it's two people what is it? One screen, two movies.
Yeah,
happening. I mean,
well, it also comes to anybody that has any credibility in that field is not going to put their credibility on the line because somebody's going to rip it apart. And in saying that, the whole purpose of this, Patrick, I got it. Pat, I got to get we got too many Pats.
It's my name. You can call me Pat, but yeah, whatever.
We know what it's going to take as researchers to get this out there. And you are in the means of getting this information and to get this footage. And I'm going to let you bust the gate wide open with that one.
Yeah, we definitely, that's, I wanted to skirt around all these topics and everything, but I definitely want you guys to blow this one up. After they mention this, Barry, we will get to your question. It's a long one, so I'm not going to post it under there, but it's about Bigfoot swimming.
Hey,
so,
Barry, what's up, man?
Yeah, he's a great guy. I love his prayers before he goes out. He's such a sweet guy. But yeah, go ahead. Give us the big news. I'm stoked about this.
It's pretty simple. Aerial thermal drone technology will observe and discover and observe in a way that we can actually learn. First of all, it will discover. So even a 30-second aerial thermal footage, even 30 seconds, it would be more than that. It would be probably more like at least 5 minutes.
Yes.
And of course, then we've blown the Patterson-Gimlin footage out of the water at that point. Given the right altitude and angle, that's the kind of footage I'm talking about. Right altitude and angle, and we're talking 200 feet. Angle through the thinned out canopy from wintertime canopy. Mm-hmm. That's it. Game over. Boom. We have the best footage ever captured of Bigfoot in 50 plus years.
But yet then that's just the beginning. And
that's just the beginning because that could be repeated not only wherever that happened, but anywhere that those conditions exist, conditions being a Bigfoot likely to be there. You have the right thinned out canopy to work with. And even if you had 5 people doing this in different parts of the country, you have observation, you have real data that can be interpreted by professionals and a great documentary, of course. Absolutely. But still, you have knowledge. You have, my whole point in the Bigfoot world forever has been we can't observe them. There has to be a way to observe them. We got to figure out how to observe them. Trail cams are pointless. Anecdotal encounters are pointless. As far as observations go, only thing you get out of that is they're big. Right, Gary?
And really hairy.
Yes.
Okay. So for the 5,000th time I hear they're big, like, okay, I get that. That's not an observation, even though technically it is. It's not a learning observation. We already know their freaking shoulders are 4 feet wide. So
if you could capture them like hunting a deer and killing deer or something extreme like that. Extreme what they do, but that's the kind of thing you need to capture, not just them flitting between trees. It needs to be what they're doing. And I just want to go back because I'm going to go in a bit because I'm getting a little bit tired. I'm sorry. I've got work tomorrow.
It's understandable.
When you were talking about sounds as well, do we consider the acoustics of the forests, of the woods, and how that can turn
absolutely
sound totally different 2 mile away
Yes.
or even 50 yards away, things are bouncing off things, and that's another thing.
It's a factor. And I'll give you a really good example of that, Daniela. And I'm glad you brought that up. So my buddy Ernie told me about this phenomenon before I ever heard it out in the woods, because he's more experienced than me. And what it is that it's this roar. It's like a kind of roar. And what it is that it's a woodpecker pecking on a tree rapidly from a certain distance. So if it's at a certain distance, that rapid fire peck on the tree combined with a little bit of echo kind of through the valley sounds like a roar. Where if you were standing 20 feet in front of it, it would just sound like, like that. But if you're standing 150 yards away from it, it doesn't sound like it sounds like raw. And I heard that. He told me about that before I ever heard it. So the first time I heard it, I went, "Oh, that's that weird woodpecker thing." Because I clicked my head up. I was like, I thought I was being roared at. It was just a woodpecker.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's a great example of what you're talking about, how sounds can be made and get distorted.
Yeah.
Especially through the valleys and ridge tops. And you're right when you say you can actually hear things from 2 miles away if they're high enough and you're down the valley. You just don't know, It's not conclusive.
I brought it up with Patrick Vaughn when he was talking about the wood knocks and how he's gotten, good responses with that, and he's got down to how many to do. And I asked him specifically, I said, have you noticed, the difference of terrain since he has gone to several different states? When you get into different terrain, does that affect where you search and whatnot? Because, you could have a wood knock over here, but it's going to bounce off of some rocks up here, and then it's going to come back and make it sound like it was behind you. So, you've got to stop and take in, me and him both agreed, you got to center yourself. It's like you take that moment to really kind of feel out your area, eyes closed, and just using nothing but your ears. And I mean, yes, we talk about the lung capacity and how long the roars are. Sometimes it's hard to tell that if it is an echo overlapping, so it could be something short, a lot shorter than what we're actually hearing. And until we get to study them, we don't know. We will not know. Now, it is a difference if it sounds like it is right there next to you, like he was saying, where you can tell it's specifically that woodpecker, or if you're getting screamed at by some creature that has this lung capacity that, just blows everything out of the water. I mean, coyotes, wolves, they can howl for a long time. But I've never, with some of the howls and the whoops and whatnot I've heard from, as Patrick calls it, the target species, it's nowhere compared to how long. And I've got wolves in my backyard, they're always howling. And I mean, it's a nice, long, beautiful song, but it doesn't come anywhere close to the amount of time that I've heard from howls and whatnot from the target species.
What'd be interesting is if you have an area, is to put, like say 4 sound recorders out in different areas, and then later you go back and you pick up a sound and just see how different it sounds on each recorder.
Yeah.
Just as an experiment to see how sound does travel.
That's how I do it. Of course, me being kind of an audio guy, I place my recorders a certain distance from my camp and log them in. and in 4 different directions. And then I listen to listen to the same sound on each recorder, and that will allow me to triangulate it, the distance that it's coming from. Well, not the distance, but the area. Sorry. The distance is hard. I mean, it's really hard. There is ways of doing it, formulas and stuff, but it's hard to do all that. But once again, it's not going to be, 100% conclusive. It's going to take that footage. And that's where I got so excited when Pat brought up the drone, because we're going to get I threw something, and we'll cover this in this show, which is showing on Sunday. But I said something to him. I said, well, somebody told me when I brought it up to him, they said, well, what if they see it or hear it? Who cares? I love how Pat put it. Who cares? What if they throw a stone at it? Who cares? We've still got the footage. We're already, 100 feet, 100 yards down the ball field. But this is going to be the best way of getting an unobtrusive, even, me, Pat, we talk about it. I got to say it on the show, and then I'm going to shut up about that because I won't give too much up on the show. We talked about Mr. Dan Goodall,
right,
and Diane Fossey. It took them years for the primates to get comfortable enough with them to go on about their natural behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, if you can get far enough back and observe, you're not going to have to spend years interacting with that. And then we have people like Mr. Patrick and Scott Carpenter, or Shane Carpenter, both of them. I meant to say both of them, that has built a rapport with the target species. Well, this drone, if we could get that in that area, this is just going to add to their bag of tools. They know they're in the area. They know the behaviors. We can cover 10 miles in 3 minutes swooping in. So you hear, okay, you're talking about audio. You hear the howl off in the distance. You can't make it 2 miles over there. That drone can be over there in about 30 seconds, 30, 45 seconds.
By the time you get there, it's whatever would be there is gone, but you put that drone and it's going to be right on top of it.
Right on top of it.
Right on top of it.
Daniela, real quick, have you ever had any audio or, heard any screams or experiences?
No.
She's in the UK.
I'm in the UK.
I've heard they've got them over there.
Yeah, I've had one encounter that I think was a big cat, because we're not supposed to have them, but we do have them here. Something that just followed me one night, late at night. It was walking parallel to me in the field. I just heard this growling all the way down this track.
Really? Growling?
Yeah, it was very weird. And I had dogs with me. My dogs didn't even pick up on it. So I've questioned this encounter quite a lot, this experience. That's right. Foxes have got over 40.
The Dixons sound like a woman getting slaughtered.
Yeah, cats, just domestic cats when they're on the heat or season, whatever you call it. I mean, they sound like crying babies.
Yeah.
It's just...
Yeah. Like you were saying, down here in the South, we got, people, whether people believe it or not, we do have Black Panthers. And that's another thing, when they do their yowl or scream, whatever you want to call it, it just comes across. Jeremiah's saying, it will put chills down your spine.
Yeah. Because
you just, you're sitting there like, and this thing is black, so you're definitely not going to really see it. And they are known to pounce from behind. So you get that kind of thing where you're like, oh, what was that?
But I know what cats sound like at every level, from mountain lion down to sorry, I muted myself. What I heard that night wasn't a freaking cat. It just wasn't. I know that for a fact. Unless cats can make sounds that have never been published, I would, a 30-second scream. That's big lungs.
That's real big lungs.
So I just remember like the one weird thing, for me to try and make sense of it, what I was hearing was, I was like, why in the world would there be a dying cow out here? There's no cow. There are no cattle anywhere around here, and this is terrain. Cattle don't travel terrain. They're out in flat places, and because in my mind's eye, it was that big. I look back at it now in my mind's eye. That's why I went straight to a cow, is because it was that freaking big and it was pissed off. Whatever it was pissed off. And bear don't do that. Bear don't get pissed off at you and let out something. That, like, if a bear, yells at you, it means it's about to kill you. And maybe because it's pissed because it has young or whatever.
Mhm.
But
Have you heard the Carl Goltro, LA Swamp Ape, his howling in his backyard? He lives in the middle of a housing estate, and he's been getting activity. It's kind of like on the property behind him. He's had stuff peeking over his fence. He's found footprint in his yard. There's just lots of weird stuff going on, and he captured this. The freakiest. Shall I find it? Can you play it if I find it?
yeah. What do you know? Is he in the US? Or
Yeah, it's Carl Goltro
Is he close to the Everglades or?
in Louisiana. He's right by the big.
Oh, I
swamp
thought you were
in
talking
Louisiana.
about in Florida.
Sorry.
Okay, wow.
I mean,
The thing
you might. This is well. Anyway, I'll find it, and then you can see what you think.
This is the thing about Miss Daniela. She's like a Rolodex when it comes to info and people's names.
Yeah, that's
This whole video is weird. It's actually someone who runs paranormal investigations
mhm.
have a really good audio and video guy, and so he had a look at this video. So it wasn't just about this call, but there's things happen. And you can see, so if it's a couple of minutes long, but if you just watch the video and read what they're telling you to look at, you'll see there's lots of stuff going on in it, but I'll share it with you anyway. I need to share audio.
Ashley, you'll probably have to hit the screen when it pops up because I
Yeah,
can't.
Have you got it?
yeah.
Okay. These are his dogs barking, but in a minute someone howls and it's not his dogs, okay?
Wow.
Now he's picked up something. Watch this.
Yeah, that's what
I,
it's
I saw that little, yeah.
And what you'd also notice is that when that howling started, that's when them jeans started swinging on that rope.
That is crazy.
Now you're going to see some sort of black. Is that? That is creepy, isn't it?
that is interesting.
It is. Oops, I did not mean to remove Pat. I was going to take the screen share off, trying to kick Pat out. No, that it is. It's very similar to a wolf's howl, but as far as Louisiana goes, and I know what I do know of their wolf population, they're not typical to come into somewhat of a suburb area, a populated area like you often hear they run out of food or whatever it may be that brings a lot of bears into neighborhoods like people experience. but at the same time, there was also something very different from a wolf howl to that. That's very interesting. And, we're talking about, that wolf or that thing starting us and seeing that, I hesitate to call it an orb. With me watching this show, I I had never heard of, and I mean, in all the accounts of what people had been through and people I'd interviewed and just people I've sat around and talked with, I had never heard about the phenomenon that wherever Bigfoot frequent, you find orbs.
Right.
I had never heard that. And I'm sitting there going, okay, here we go. Now we're starting to add to their paranormal aspect, like they're bringing these orbs through their wormholes and, that out of the box. Well, I won't say out of the box thinking. That's not out of the box. That is just, even on that unwanted Sasquatch thing, they're showing a town hall from the 1980s. And all these people are, they're showing cast and everything. And then this guy comes up in the back and he starts talking about interdimensional beings. And everybody just kind of starts doing this and shaking their head. And there's even a teenager from the high school that turns around and he goes, so like if a Bigfoot dies in this dimension, does it automatically zap back into its own dimension since we can't ever find bodies? And I mean, he's even laughing while he's asking this. And I don't mean to knock anybody's beliefs. It's like what they said on the super panel. We have got to think straight and go from what we learn before we start putting these far out ideas out there. I don't care if we did find cave paintings of a Sasquatch kind of creature next to an alien kind of creature. We need to find out about them before we start throwing them out in the universe and making them interdimensional. And
well, the other thing is, even if that other stuff does exist, why are they putting it with Sasquatch? Why doesn't it go with any other animal? People had encounters with bears long enough to see an orb. You don't know, do you? People see orbs not all over the place, but how they can put it to the Sasquatch, I don't know, because
we actually discussed that quite a bit with our analytics panel. We discussed it in the super panel. That's a very key topic for us, and I put a very realistic theory behind it, and everybody seems to agree with me that these things are a sentient being. They have cognitive thought. Well, we would be awful arrogant to think that they wouldn't be drawn to the same phenomena that we are, and very easily they could be drawn to the areas that has this. But I am gonna say something about that video. I'd have to really do a lot more research, because there's that privacy fence there. You could put speakers back there. You could have somebody back there.
You could, right?
And and knowing the kind of camera that they're using and the microphone sensitivity, I would have to really, honestly, I would love to talk to the guy, interview him in video chat, and see his body language and stuff. The way.
Oh, he's totally. We'll hook you up with him. We'll meet up one night. He's
sure. I'd love to, because I believe I have heard that noise before in the woods.
Solid, an absolutely solid guy, and he's open to anything.
And I'm not too far from Louisiana.
And you can have such compelling stories, but when you sit down with somebody, you could tell if they are genuine. And that's why I like doing this kind of the live stream podcast, where you can sit there and talk to people. We all know I've eaten crow with, guests that, you only get so much when you're just talking to them on the phone, and then you have them on and it's 'cause you're sitting there going, what did I do myself? But we've all had those, glitches.
The big thing with that video, honestly.
I've talked to Cal for 2 years. Honestly, him and his wife, they're great people.
The big thing that got me with that video is the dog's response. The dogs are definitely
took off
upset about something.
Well, if you follow him, because it's been going on for a couple of years, initially the dogs were like very protective. They knew something was coming. And then over time, they started to get used to it. And then they'd be like, oh, it's them. you could see over the weeks and months, years, the body language of the dogs changing. That night, the dogs seemed petrified to me, like they were like, I never heard them like that, and I've talked to them for hours. Those Carl and Rachel, I've never heard the dogs respond like that before. They seem like
that's and when I say I'd love to interview them and talk to them, because with the privacy fence being there, you know, that just adds a whole new dilemma. I'm not trying to disprove them at all. I've heard that sound, but I'm curious to know the behavior of the dogs and know their responses to it, and you would know that you know, by talking to them, because like I said, I'm not that far away. My wife's from Louisiana, and there's other things in them woods besides Sasquatch.
Oh well, they've had so many. That's just nothing. They've had so many things. But we'll all come up. We'll look up and we'll do that together.
Shoot,
we'll meet up. Guys, I'm gonna have to bail out and go to bed. I'm sorry.
Before you leave, Miss Daniela, keep one thing in mind. I got a little target for you. Me and you don't have to get together and do a little deal on the spring-heeled jack of London.
Oh, right.
You know they're having recent sightings.
No, I didn't.
Yes.
Right. I'll look into that then, and we'll chat about that at some point.
You know, people don't think that England has a lot of cryptids. They really do. They've got
there's lots of stuff. Have you talked to Andy McGrath, East of Britain?
No, I haven't.
Okay. We'll organise that one then.
We need to do a show on Jack the Ripper.
You'll like Jack the Ripper, yeah. So there's so much.
My daughter to come on. She's obsessed with serial killers.
Right. I follow true crime. I absolutely love it. I don't love what's happening to people, but I'm fascinated with what happens. And I just noticed, maybe because England's a lot smaller, we don't have the same amount of people. I don't know, but in America, it seems standard that people just can't get divorced. They have to disembowel kill the partners, kill the kids, bury them somewhere. I mean, I've never. Maybe because I'm following it, I'm hearing more about it. But there's some horrific crimes going on, and you just wonder what.
Divorce is so expensive. I think that's one thing that leads them to try and take the easy way out.
Wow.
Well, you know,
it doesn't happen that often.
Being from the paranormal world, you know, I try to explain something real kind of interesting to people. North American continent, from the time the Native Americans was here all the way up until now, is just a conglomerate of all the other cultures. So we have a chaos factor, especially here in Oklahoma, because of all the Native Americans coming from the Trail of Tears and everything into this area. So it's real interesting. I tell people all the time, that's the reason Americans are so bloody aggressive. Because we've literally, it's been nothing but battle after battle after battle after battle after battle after battle over here. You know, they say that the American Civil War was one of the bloodiest wars in history, you know, outside of World War One. But even in the spiritual sense, we're a conglomerate of multiple cultures. So we have, and we talk about it, me and Pat does a lot with the Sasquatch. We have so many different cultural influences that, from our interpretation of having just like to deal with you and with what you just showed us, Miss Daniela, them being in Louisiana, half of the people will call it a Rougarou, half the people will call it Sasquatch.
Yeah.
That's when you said Louisiana, and there's more things out there. I was going to bring up the Rougarou because I lived in South Louisiana for 12 years, and would go even further south. Where the real bayous, the backwoods towns were, that I'm talking, you heard the slightest thing out in the woods and they were automatically get the kids inside. That's a Rougarou. And, you know, they'd have people swear up and down. I mean, I've heard of people locking their relatives up, chaining them to a wall because they believe their relative is a Rougarou and they don't want them to go out and get in trouble and get arrested or captured or shot from the, I guess you could say, shenanigans they would get into as a Rougarou. But I mean, that's totally different cryptid. But
I heard stories like that. My dad's Sicilian, so
really,
as a child going over to Sicily, they're very sort of superstitious people as well, and they believed people could put curses on you, give you headaches if you upset the family. They could do all this stuff, and they used to be a family. And my dad always told me that they had a son that they had to chain up because he was a werewolf.
Mhm.
And all the family were very hairy. I mean, I don't know whether this was just some sort of genetic thing that happened, but I mean, the dad was really, and they said that their son was kind of this way, and they had to keep him chained up in the house because they didn't want him to go out and do whatever they do.
Yeah, I lived in Italy for 3 years, and I'll tell you
Oh,
one
wow.
thing that I noticed between Italians was they were either the really smooth with men with no hair, or they were very hairy. I very rarely saw the men in between. So, I mean, it could have been a genetics thing. As far as what is the condition where people that do have, their face,
Yeah,
they call like the wolf syndrome, or
could just be that. It could have
Yeah.
just been that, but you think, there's no smoke without fire, and this stuff. I mean, with the more deformed, have there always been deformities? When you think back at the freak circus, I know it's not a word we should use now.
yeah.
There were people, born with these different things, and are we seeing that now? Are we seeing this kind of thing happening in modern day? And maybe cryptids of the past could have been deformed people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know,
Because we take what is different
Yeah,
and we try to justify it with making it into a horror story or a monster is much
or
more
religious thing.
accepted, than just
Yeah.
being with the fact that these people are, they're different, but they're still people.
Mm.
Studying like I have over the years, we had to study the Spanish Inquisition and all of that. And that it became a political thing. But in the beginning, it makes you wonder how many people that the churches have put to death because they had epilepsy,
Yeah.
because they was paranoid schizophrenic. Because
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
atrocious.
Yeah.
Atrocious. I'm not saying that there's not dark entities out there, because I know there is. I've seen definite proof of it. I've seen more, and that's another thing too. I've seen more proof of demons than I have of Sasquatch. It just, there's so many factors. We could be talking for another 2 hours on just that, but that's a whole other episode.
It is. Well, this is another episode, like you say. We'll do that. But guys, I'm going to go to bed. Ashley, it's been great meeting you and talking to you.
Same here, Danielle. I've been wanting to, and I really enjoy watching, your different shows, and
Thank you.
and especially that one when we discussed that stupid bill in or where y'all discussed that stupid bill in
Right.
Oklahoma.
Right.
Yeah, that one's just, and there's a lot of people that I've noticed in groups that are sharing it and they're encouraging it. I'm like, are you crazy? But yeah, we'll let you get to bed. I appreciate you for stopping by. We'll have to chat again.
Yeah, we'll do it again. I was just talking to Daniel before and saying, I do the late show now after the Bigfoot Cafe on a Saturday, and I'm just going to start sending invites out to people if they want to join. Come and join the chat. I'll send one out to you, a link to the StreamYard, and it's just good to carry on the conversation.
Mhm.
Oh
It
yeah.
seems like the first hour you kind of let your hair down a little bit, getting to know you, and then once that's out of the way, hey, anything goes. So, Gary,
Got no hair.
Hey, no, let your beard down.
There we go.
That hair. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
I've took mine off tonight. It's been fun. Gary, thanks for the invite. Pat, thanks for helping me out again tonight. And good night, everyone.
Good night.
All right.
Good night. It was
Good
fun.
rest, Danielle.
Talk
Thanks.
to you later.
Bye-bye.
We never
Yeah.
did get to the question. Okay.
I know.
I hope Gary's still watching.
Well, I did see another comment where he said something about his internet was acting funny, so he may have to catch the answer later. But his question was, now I got to find it.
I got it right here. Well,
Oh, you
if
got it.
pop it up. Something just occurred to me. I used to think they couldn't swim due to the lack of body fat. There we go. Lack of body fat, and couldn't understand how they are reported coming out of the water. Then I thought about their lung capacity. Maybe with the exception of the deepest, wildest rivers, they may be walking across the bottom or wading just under the surface for a long time. The amount of muscle mass that they have, your body fat is directly in correlation with your buoyancy, but the amount of muscle mass that they have compared to their lung capacity, it'd be almost like ballast tanks with because I will be blunt with you. I've heard too much evidence of them swimming very proficiently. There's even stories here in Oklahoma of them getting in underwater caves and stuff.
Yeah, that's one thing that was covered that I learned about. I was like, I never thought of that. Is them using underwater caves as an escape or a hidey hole.
Yes.
Which I find more believable than them using mine shafts or caves with an opening that is literally this wide.
Well,
Which, every time somebody sees a hole like that and they're like, ooh, look, I'm like, nah, that's more than likely a bear. I'd get out of there.
Well, and another thing too, in the deal about the body fat, you look at most of your Olympic swimmers, 3 to 5% body fat.
Yeah.
So I don't think that the body fat would have a big issue with these guys, especially with their muscle mass and their lung capacity. I believe that if anything else, they could probably swim more proficiently than we can because of their mechanics, the way they move.
Yeah, and not only that, but if you think about it, you brought up the body swimmers. Look at Navy SEALs and people that are trained to stay underwater and that do have to swim long distances to get on land to execute a mission or what it may be. Not only are they trim, a lot of them, and built and have a low body BMI, but they also have a lot of equipment on. And it's, as far as your lung capacity is a big factor, but also so is training your mind to the that you're not suffocating, that your body can actually last longer with the oxygen that is already in your blood than that, as we're used to taking a breath every 20 seconds or so, that you can actually hold your breath for a lot longer once you train your mind to realize that.
Absolutely.
So, and for as intelligent as we seem to find Bigfoot to be, why wouldn't they already realize, or, they could have trained themselves. They could have been caught in some, pardon the pun, hairy situations underwater. And I had to. And, then realized, hey, I can hold my breath a little bit longer than I thought I could. And they start passing that down to their young. And, hey, next thing you know, you got some deep diving, swimming.
Well, there's been legitimate reports, from, I would say, creditable sources of them swimming across to Vancouver Island. I've seen evidence of them walking right in the middle of a lake here. And, I think they walk out in the water to hide their tracks myself. But there's stories coming out of Oklahoma down around Sawyer Lake where, kids was canoeing and see something big like that swimming underneath the water, underneath the canoe, Of course, this was years ago, but it's still, there's a lot of reports with them around the water.
Yeah. And look at moose, they're a huge animal.
Look how easily a bear swims, and moose. Anything.
A bear does have more body fat.
Well, bear does have, they got anywhere from upwards of 16 to 36% body fat. But, look at a hog. People won't associate a hog with swimming, but they can swim very well. Because they're the closest kin to like elephants and hippopotamuses, if I'm calling right. But it definitely, I would say that they would probably be almost as proficient in the water as they are outside of the water, where we are not. I think they would be more proficient, because if they do go in caves, I'm sure there's probably going to be times that they're having to go underwater to inside the caves to traverse. If you go by that theory that they do travel, in the caves and stuff a lot more than we do, there'd be times that they'd have to completely submerge and be able to traverse longer distances underwater. Looks like we lost Pat.
He may have run to go do something.
Probably. Yeah, we've been running an hour. I mean, if you want to shut her down, and it's your show.
No, I'd like to wait for him to come back at least. I mean, with the aerial stuff, I'm really excited. I mean, just especially because I want to see about their pack mentality, as you say.
Yeah.
Because, like we always say, where there's one, there's more.
There's going to be more. Yeah.
So I would like to see just how closely, if
that
you find one target.
That would be a very good point, how far out they're ranging and stuff. And the beauty of it to me is because we do know these things are in some of the roughest terrain. And we've got guys out there on the ground that are pounding the boots, and you have to have them guys. They have to take the reports. They have to have the sightings to give us the location for, where this would be feasible. And the beauty of that is if you had teams that was putting more talking about sidetrack teams that has these with them, if they do hear a sound or they do hear something out, they can get out there quicker. And man, if we can get the thermal of these, just like Pat was saying, if you had 4 or 5 teams that got the same type of thermal footage in 4 or 5 different parts of the country, that would be almost as good as having a body.
I would say better.
Well, yeah, because you're not destroying a species.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, if you have a body, what do you have? Knowledge of their behavior? No.
Nope. You just got something that you could tell that they're flesh and blood and how their body works, possibly.
There would be something to learn there, obviously. And you could, their stomach contents would show you, or confirm or deny how they eat, that kind of thing. But a body doesn't tell you like why they would make stick structures or how they kill a deer or anything like that.
Me personally, I want to get so far away from the standard. I know we're going to end up having to have just tissue samples and all that. Mm-hmm. But why do we have to go kill something to learn something about it?
That's, granted, I think it would take an awfully big dart, and we're talking about probably elephant, if not stronger, to knock one out. But just like they do with bears, wolves, whatever, they trank it. They, get the size. They take hair samples to, get whatever, track where they had been, what they've been, going even further back in their diet, because it does show up in their fur. Just get all that. And even if we could have one tagged, but, it's like a lot, people, they're not going to walk around with a collar. They're not going to walk around with an ear tag.
No.
So, I mean, but until we could do something like that, and that's, like I said, we don't know anything until they are something we can actually sit there and study, which will not happen because they're not going to let it happen. They look at us and they look at what we've done to animals that we have studied. Mm-hmm. And like, wolves that come up in this, we got wolves that are having to be reintroduced because they've gone extinct in so many states. And they're such a keystone species that,
Look, you're not going to study them from the ground. Okay. No. And that's why, like I said to Gary, maybe last week, maybe it was on the super panel. I was like, what if you track them to where they are? Like, what then, bro? Like, what are you gonna do, Gary? Like, turn around and run, probably,
or get your head squeezed off, or
you can't just like go watch them in the woods. Obviously, that's not a thing. 50 years, people. Patterson Gimlin film. Okay, those guys were in that extreme remote territory for 2 weeks on horseback and got a 30-second
and
Fairly good clip.
that's not including the years of prior scouting trips that they had done working that area for the cattle companies and the logging companies. They was both from that area, general vicinity.
Yeah. So
Weren't
there
they
you go.
originally up there just to like do footage of them on horseback?
Ashley, yeah, what they were doing is like Roger Patterson wanted to get B-roll footage, but he was also at the same time actively trying to get a clip.
Yeah.
And back then it was different. It wasn't unreasonable. I don't know. Maybe he was ahead of his time, right? He was a 2015 Bigfoot researcher ahead of his time. I don't know, but I know this, that it was for B-roll, but the goal was to catch a glimpse of one and film it.
Yeah, to get financing for a documentary. Yeah.
And that's exactly what he did. And I'll tell you, they just got lucky as hell. Maybe that.
I honestly think.
I mean, of course, it's the most famous clip.
Knowing the behavior patterns that we have now, I honestly think that she was a decoy. I think she had went that direction to pull their attention away from other ones.
Wolves do it. Coyotes do it.
Yeah, maybe so.
A lot of pack animals do that. So.
But all I know is that what's in that film is a Bigfoot. Sorry,
your goal. I don't care.
What was in that?
I won't be like Daniela. I won't make you put something in the swear jar.
Yeah. What's in that fucking film is a Bigfoot. Okay, I'm sorry. I
agree.
And so for whatever reason, guys, let's just say guys and gals, for whatever reason, them being out there for as long as they were on horseback led to them having a chance encounter. Even if it was just a 1 in a billion chance encounter, it happened. They filmed it and nothing else since. And I've lost my train of thought of why we're even talking about that.
You brought up PG because he was ahead of his time.
It's ahead of its time. You can't just go out there tramping around the woods think you're going to film a Bigfoot. Why don't you get on horseback for 2 weeks and see how that goes instead?
Well, and once again, that's my big deal, and that's one of the things that me and you and a lot of other people that are taking reports and stuff, that's one of my biggest red flags, unless I build up a rapport with a person and when they tell me that, oh, I've been doing this for 3 or 4 months and I have interactions every time I go out, or I've had 3 or 4 Class A sightings. And I'm like, there's people like, John Green and Lauren Coleman and John Bindernagel and, it's been doing this for 40 years and never had one sighting.
That's like I said, there's so many people in this community that have been doing it for so long and never had a Class A sighting.
I hope not to.
I've been actively researching for 23, going on 24 years. And I had my one Class A, and I've had maybe one other that we think it was definitely something, because it was a shadow sitting there and then we turned back and it was gone. And I've had maybe, 7 to 10 good audio that we think it's all speculative. But the one Class A is not speculative. I'll tell you that. But that's just a red flag for me. And not that I'm better than anybody else. I'm not. There's guys that's spending a lot more time in the woods than I am because of my situation that I'm in right now. But guys like Scott Carpenter for years, Shane Carpenter, Randy Arrington, Rich, I can't even say it's like Gurmer from the Olympic Project. These guys are out there stomping in the brush and doing it. And I can see, seeing from somebody like that and having multiple sightings. Yes. But when I hear reports of truck drivers driving down the road and I've seen 10 times, no. guy walking in his park, and I see one over there behind the tree, and the park's in the middle of a city, you know. And they step in and out of portals, and that's the reason I see them. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm giving an open challenge to anybody out there that hears this. If you have that kind of experiences and you have any correlative evidence, I challenge you, bring it to me, and we will look at it with an open mind, and we will analyze this. And I want to hear your stories. I want to hear your personal feelings that you had. I want to hear what they progressed to you. Was they aggressive? Was they nice? I want to hear this. I want to hear every detail. I want to know what color the grass was. I want to know what color shoes you wore. I want to glean every bit of what makes them things come out and do this. That's an open challenge and an open door. Y'all come talk to me. I'm not going to rip apart.
And plus you would keep it strictly confidential for those that are, because we still do have people that are afraid of that humility, or not humility, but humiliation factor.
It's
that a lot of us did have to overcome before we started talking about it. I mean, I'm a rookie compared to y'all. I'm 9 years now, and the reason I got into it, even though I had always liked watching shows and been interested and had an open mind, I didn't get into this until I had my Class A sighting. And that's when I was like, ooh, maybe I should start looking into these things. And as much as I have spent my time out in the woods and done my thing, I have yet to have another Class A sighting. Now, I've got a girl that I know that drives around a mountain road out in Blount County, that she said she gets tormented pretty much anytime she drives out there by an Alabama white thing. And it literally plays with the cars. Like, it'll dart in front of it, and then when people are stopped, it's like next thing you know, they see movement in the rearview mirror.
See, when I hear behavior like that, of course, knowing the other side of things, I don't think Sasquatch. That's not Sasquatch behavior to me. That's demonic behavior.
That's what I wonder. I really do actually want to go out there and just drive around and see if I get the same kind of thing. And if it feels negative, it feels bad, like it's just really something that's out there to possibly cause a car accident or make you get out of your car to where you could get hurt by a wild animal. Because we talk about, we don't go in the woods without some kind of firearm, not because we want to kill Sasquatch, but because of the other animals that do pose a threat. Now, we're not just going to shoot them because we see them, but if they're coming after us and about to jump on us, if it comes down to us or them, we're choosing us. But, I thought the same thing when I heard that. But with the Alabama white thing legend, it's described as being like a Bigfoot, but, there haven't been enough sightings or interactions like with Bigfoot, like I say, even though we don't know, where you do get what they supposedly act like. And if they are just a different species and color of Bigfoot or Sasquatch, it's just, that's what people report seeing, is this Bigfoot-like creature, but it's all white. And it's not like an elder one or just, old and gray. These things, they've been seen little. They've been seen as juveniles, So it's another question. And like you say, that could be something that is otherworldly, not as in the alien terms, but yes, demonic or some kind of spiritual thing that, you don't really want to mess with. So it all depends on your perspective and just what, how much you're willing to put into it and see. Well, gentlemen, we've been going for almost an hour and a half now. Greatly appreciate y'all coming on, and I am excited about your show. It's y'all go ahead and pump it again. Tell us when it's going to be on, and it's definitely going to be shared in the Central Alabama group. I could tell you that much. I know that, and and go ahead and mention some of your other shows, because y'all have so much going on, and the shows I love them. I mean, like I said, that your super panel, that was probably what, I was sitting there going, yes. Oh my, I was watching it like a football game.
Yeah.
I was cheering y'all on thank you for saying that, because not enough people do say it.
Yeah,
That-
we're gonna do that again. I'm definitely gonna put together another super panel. That was so much fun.
That was definitely a
Great
great meeting
discussion.
of minds.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Sunday night on P3 Productions web YouTube channel, we're going to release the first of a multi-part. Definitely don't have one more part because we could just not cover everything in
Mm,
the first show.
true.
The next show is going to be put, and folks, the next show is going to be put together a lot better. It's going to have a lot more information. It's going to have a structured information. This was just kind of an introductory, but we do have.
But it's still great. It's still
Oh,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, like there's a lot there.
Lot
I mean,
there. Yeah.
The foundation has been laid.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna put together the second part of it for Pat. Now that will be Pat's baby, because I'm gonna have to give this ball to him and let him run with it because he is the expert on this. Pat, I know you don't like us saying that. He is more knowledgeable on that subject than I am. You do own the business. You do have the drone business, the avionics business. So you've been doing it a while and you know more about it. So I'm just gonna help Pat do that, and I'm gonna move on to my other side projects that I have. But anyway, Sunday night on Poor Boys P3 Productions YouTube channel. It is a Poor Boys Paranormal production. We'll share it, but it's a great show. I'm really excited about it. We've done a lot of editing to it. I mean, we've been working on this for a while, and it's just going to get better. Pat's got a lot of information, and he's got a lot of let's just put it, a lot of things going on with this that I think is going to bust this thing wide open, in my personal opinion. Just the theory behind it is by far more progressive than anything I've heard so far. And I know people's tried it before. They've done it before. But it was just like Pat says, anything we do in this community has been done before. But now the technology has caught up with the theory.
Yep.
And that's where we're at now, is the technology is available. And
It's
it
available. It's here.
Absolutely.
So we can start proving things and or ruling things out.
Absolutely.
So either way, it's a win-win in my book.
Absolutely.
If I can go out there and rule things out, then that's what I can do. Yeah, or prove something, that's what I can do. But that's what this is.
You're bringing back
100%.
information. Yeah.
Absolutely.
The more
Gathering
information you
info.
bring in, the better it is.
Absolutely.
It is game changing no matter what. Even if it turns out, 2 years from now, if I have to come back on here and go, hey guys, I don't know what's going on, but for whatever reason, these things manifest themselves only around people, and
Once again, we're still proving something.
so you're at it's data.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm just going to report the data. That's it. Like
I'm going to tell you right now, if I say, I'll be probably one of the first ones to see the footage. And thank you, Pat, for allowing me to be, in that group. And when I know what the footage looks like, and I ain't gonna give too much away, but when I see a red blur going out through there and it just fades away, and then it pops up somewhere else like a mile away, I'm gonna be like, they walk through portals.
yeah, I mean, or whatever. Yeah,
Or they
No.
hit warp speed or something.
yeah.
Well, it's like I was telling you, when I went out, I picked up on this trail, and I'm an experienced tracker. I've been doing it for so long. So yeah, I know what to look for. And it was a fresh trail, from probably that morning. And I followed it all up, and I mean, my body is killing me. I'm suffering for it. But it's so hard for me to find that trail and to follow it. And there were times when I had to stop and go, wait a minute, and backtrack. And I look at my prints, and I told Gary earlier, I was like, good Lord, for me, you could have somebody that didn't know tracking from their ass and could have easily followed me, because I looked like an elephant running through the sand. And, just from what I was leaving behind. And these things are smooth. I mean, they are just as smooth and graceful and awesome.
And that's what that gets described a lot, like in the accounts, like even Gary's account, in the accounts, like people describe a movement that is they'll say unnatural sometimes, or they'll say fluid, or sometimes they'll say cross country skier, right? Which makes sense. Sliding, kind of
Yeah.
sliding,
The glide.
gliding through the snow, and man, I can't explain that. You would think a big giant dude, Gary, like a big giant thing like that, like you saw, 4-foot wide shoulders, 8 foot tall. You think they'd be the least graceful primate on the planet,
That would
right?
be me.
So, I mean, how do we square that circle? Like, these things are huge, yet extremely graceful in like
But how graceful
mountainous
is
terrain.
how graceful is a grizzly bear? How graceful is a moose? How graceful and as big as an elephant is? You can be in the Serengeti or over there, especially in like the Sumatran elephants. You can be 10 to 20 feet away from them and never see them because in their element, they're perfection. Because the Creator created them for that. Us, we are not perfection in any given thing because we're unnatural because of this right here. These things look at this stuff and it's supernatural to them, where
Should
we
be.
think they're supernatural to us. We literally, until we proved that the mountains gorillas, they thought they was a ghost or a demon back then. They thought they was a cryptid until they got the representation scientifically to do it. This is the same thing, folks. I honestly, in my personal belief, do not believe. I believe in conservation. I don't believe in destroying any of these. And these guys in Oklahoma, take a breath. We're going to trap them. No, you're not. You're going to tear the whole ecosystem apart.
We know they can't be trapped. I mean, that's absurd. That's absurd.
That was one of my points was, the only thing you're going to wind up doing is hurting innocent animals. People are going to wind up shooting each other, and it'll be a bloodbath, but not the kind that you think. Sasquatch will be far away. They'll be sitting there going, look at these idiots. Look at these fools.
The other night, my dad had a good point. And I didn't really think about it until he said it. He said, son, you seen one of these things, shoulder 4 or 5 feet across. What are they going to do? Build a cage out of oil field pipe? They'll buckle that like a, what are they going to do? Dig a pit and put spikes in the bottom of it? Well, they ain't going to catch no Bigfoot because Bigfoot's going to watch them digging it. They're going to end up catching a cow, killing a cow, catching another human. What are they going to do? Put bear traps out? Well, the Bigfoot's going to watch them do it. And if I come in your house, I tell you what, I'm going to come in your house, Ashley, and I'm going to take up your carpet and I'm going to cut a hole in your carpet, put a big piece of, I'll put a 5-gallon bucket lid underneath it and put the carpet back down. And you won't tell me that you won't notice it in the middle of your living room floor?
And wouldn't be kicking your ass either.
That's what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah.
There's no thought. Once again, and don't get me started on that rant.
Yeah.
Politicians and people, arrogancy. Oh, we're going to bring, I don't believe that they exist, but I'm going to put this in so we can bring more revenue into our community. Well, present it as that. Don't present it as a legit conservative conservational prospect.
Thank you. And that's exactly how he put it out there with his video and he made it sound like he believed that it existed. And, in that video, and then for you to contact him to, stage your formal complaint and him to just flat out say, I don't believe in him.
Well, he even said Pat, correct me if I'm wrong. You listened to the whole thing. I couldn't listen to the hogwash. Did he not also say in that podcast that he didn't believe in their existence? He'd been out in the woods hunting for them a bunch and had never seen
much. Yeah.
This is not about us, folks. This is about the conservation of a species. If these things really do exist, which I believe in my personal opinion that they do, we need to preserve these things, not go out and try to destroy them. Because the thing that I seen and locked eyes with was literally is intelligent or more intelligent than my dog. And everybody knows how much I love my dog and how smart.
Right. Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
like looking at he was contemplating what he was going to do,
And when you describe how, like, when you went for your gun and he did that kind of, like,
Yeah. The
dang
shuffle.
it, I
Yeah.
wasn't going to hurt you kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was like, I
Yeah.
was just looking,
and then take off. Yeah.
but thanks to these shows, now I won't say that about Finding Bigfoot, but the more I watch this Expedition Bigfoot, they're making it out to be a monster. I mean, the whole show is a joke. They're overacting.
Oh yeah.
They're throwing in, a bird chirping at night is a Bigfoot whistling. Everything's a Bigfoot.
And I'm going to say this in public, and y'all can get mad at me all you want. Whoever can get mad at me. I know Russell Accord. I respect Russell Accord. I know what he is. He served in the military. We served in some of the same units. I got a lot of respect for the man. I don't know why he's doing it. If it's for money, acknowledge it.
And I've got some friends
Fame and
that
money.
live in Harlan County that were actually contacted and had their feelings hurt or were upset that they weren't recontacted because they were set to be sources. Their stories were to be told on the shows when they started filming in Kentucky. And they were upset because they were dropped. And then some of the people that they did wind up, they're not knowledgeable in the field, well, as knowledgeable as you can be. And I'm like, don't be upset, because you basically just had your reputation in the Bigfoot community salvaged and saved.
Yeah.
Because if you go on this show, I don't care how much if they wanted to pay me to be on it, I'd be like, all right, I get to produce, direct. I'm bringing my own daggum team. You're getting rid of the other people. And it's going to be the most boring show there is out there, because you know what? You don't get action like that.
Yeah.
Things do not happen. We're basically going to have a show just watching us hike. That's what it's going to be.
It's a produced show.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and when I say that, I mean, it's literally produced
for entertainment.
If
Yes.
anybody knew anything
all
about
the
that,
evidence is produced. Yeah.
And it's a horrible show. I mean, I'm sorry.
It is. No, I agree with you.
Yeah. A lot of people in the Bigfoot world will criticize Finding Bigfoot. At the end of the day, I look at Finding Bigfoot and I'm like, actually, it's a great TV show.
It is.
I
love watching it.
I'm sorry if you're in the Bigfoot world and you think you should be getting more out of that show, that it was never made really for you. It's made for the general public.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes it a great TV show. It appeals to everyone.
Another thing, when the show ended, through all of the criticism, all of the BS, you've still got Cliff and Bobo still in the community, still working for the preservation, still working for the proving. That is
great guys too.
Yes,
they're very respectful to their fans. They're always ready and willing to listen.
Absolutely.
And one thing, like when I mentioned the orbs, and on Expedition, they keep finding or seeing lights out in the forest. Well, you know what? The whole daggum community knows you're out there looking for Bigfoot, so I guarantee you there's people out there with flashlights. I guarantee you there are other people that are just out there doing stuff. And, that's why I could get a full-fledged Johnny Carson style sit-down interview with a Bigfoot and film it, but I would never tell you where it happened. I'd air it, but I don't care how much money you offered me. I would be like, no, you're not going to know where, this thing lives. It's not going to happen because, like you said, you're in it. You want to conserve them. You want to give them their privacy, because I look at them as I would us. Just like you said, if you came in my home and did something, put a bucket or something under the floor, I'm going to notice.
I don't know how many times doing this and saying conservation and preserve, somebody pops off and says they don't need to be protected. They've been doing it forever.
But then if you
look at the population density of the human nation, of the human species.
Yeah.
Look at the population density of these things. Yeah.
And what's one
Do
story
I have
you
to say anymore?
constantly hear? You constantly hear people saying, I had activity, but then they came and stripped mine so much, like what's going on at your dad's place. They came and stripped mine so many acres of land. The trees are gone, and now I don't have much activity, or it's more aggressive. It's because they're upset, but they're losing their home. It's like somebody just kind of pulling up to the front of your house and being like, hey, how you doing? I kind of want to do something right here, and bulldozing right through your house.
Absolutely. And we've done it to other humans. I mean, we said we was going to end this thing, and it's been 34 minutes. I am going to have to jump off here and get me something to eat. I'm starving.
I know. I love we wind up talking more when it's time to end than we do during the show.
We can let me go fix a plate, and we can jump back on as far as I care, but do it off the air.
I need to go find me some Tylenol and something else because I am hurting. I'm not as agile as Bigfoot.
We'll close this thing out, sis.
All right. Well, once again, this was Expeditions for Answers. I'm Ashley Jacobs. I want to thank my co-host for actually being more of a guest tonight, Gary Spikes. And thank you, Pat Turner, for coming on. Always a great time talking to both of you, Pat. I tell Gary all the time how much I respect you and your perspective. And, it's you're fun to talk to too. You're a character. But and Barry, I go back through the show if you can a little bit. I noticed when you just came back on, but we did answer the swimming question, so check that out. But we'll get you next time, brother. And thank you for the invite to your page. Do you guys want to, by chance, post a link or anything, or just push? Because I know it's going to be on my table.
I actually posted the link to the channel on here, and folks, we are working on just click a button and it shows up. But it's when you handle 9 shows full time, it's kind of gets overwhelming.
Right.
Well, yeah, when it comes to at least the 3 of us, you can go through P3 Productions or Squatch Talk or Central Alabama Facebook page, and you'll find our shows, our plethora of shows.
Yep.
So and these are great guys. You can learn a lot from them, and I know I'm very privileged to have them as friends in the Bigfoot community, because it's great to have like-minded people that really put it out there. But you guys, thank you again so much. And for that, good night, and we'll see you guys again next Wednesday, 8 p.m. And I have no idea who we're going to have on, but I'm sure it's going to be somebody interesting. Yeah, have a good night.